Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. This is the show that blends a love of music with a love of whiskey and the literal stalking of from one Alan Bishop. Sorry, cracked myself up with that. Anyway, hey, Alan's not only looking over my shoulder, he's also guest on part two of the conversation that I had with Alan about what's going on in Old Homestead. We also talked about the new Queens of the Stone Age album. So we'll get back into that conversation in just a few minutes. But before we do that, I want to tell you about Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends who look over your shoulder constantly. Bar Cart produces content for the whiskey enthusiast in you. Shows like Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop, Christy Atkinson, talk with distillers from across the country and around the world, but anything and everything in terms of distillation. Alan also has shows like One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, and if you have ghosts, you have everything. So search for those on your podcast platforms and on YouTube. My Whiskey Den with Pat and Mike and Mitch comes on every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. My Whiskey Den is where craft whiskey is king. David Levine has a podcast where he will interview distillers. He also has a blog where he does great reviews of new whiskeys and other spirits. So check that out as well. As for our show, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, hit that subscribe button. Alan Bishop would want you to always have to remember which way to move. So anyway, yeah, Alan would endorse you subscribing to us on YouTube. You can also listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. But enough of all that. Well, let's get into the next part of our conversation with Alan Bishop. The Alive in the Catacombs is basically they recorded some of their kind of deeper cut songs in the catacombs beneath Paris. And did a short film of them singing these songs. So none of the songs really sound the same.
No. In the best possible way.
Right. I mean, if you were looking at the set list on this film, and you're a real big fan, and you're thinking, okay, look at all these deep cuts I'm going to get to see live, and then you watch this, it's going to turn that on its head because it is very, very different.
Yes. Yeah, it's they definitely put some real thought into, and it's short. It's not very, it's 30
minutes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. They definitely put some thought into what songs they were going to do there. And he said that in interviews too, because so he laid out these rules. And I think this is one of the reasons why I like conceptual stuff, right? So I made a post that, to me, this is like the coolest thing that any modern rock band right now has done, right? And rock's not necessarily in a good place anyways right now, at least in the mainstream, right? But it's not dead, or maybe it is. Maybe that's the point of this whole thing, right? That it's sort of the exercise, and again, that sort of memento mori sort of thing. And so he talked about a lot of those sort of things in interviews where he's talked about health problems that he's had, and he used this. He was very sick when they recorded this as well. And he sort of used this as a way to work through that, right? And how could you not, right? You're putting on a concert for the dead. It's very similar to what Pink Floyd did, obviously, with Pompeii way back when, that original Pompeii performance, which I've always absolutely loved. I actually consider that the highlight of their career, not Dark Side of the Moon, not Wish You Were Here. That, to me, Pompeii is the high. That, like, what do you do to me, being a spiritual person, like,
right?
I'll quit now. I'm done. I played Pompeii to a bunch of ghost assholes. So,
well, you got to get paid.
Yeah, right. That's true. It's an expensive endeavor, but Josh talked about that, and this. So music has always inspired my distillation, and Queens of the Stone Age, and Eagles of Death Metal too, and the
Mhm.
Desert Sessions, all those things that Josh is involved in, has inspired a lot of my distillations because he does the beauty in what they do very much so, like Typo Negative or a band like that, is that little piece of optimism. The optimism of the whole thing is that you're alive to get to experience all of these feelings, right?
Mhm.
And you don't have to be here. It's not your choice to be here necessarily, right? It could end at any point in time, and that's the beauty of life, right? And that shines through very, very much so in their music, and that's a very sacred, very spiritual thing. The metaphors that are there, the imagery that is created, I absolutely love, but also the conceptual stuff that he talked about. So he talked about they only would do at most 2, maybe 3 takes of each song as they went, which is
Mhm.
pretty interesting, right? If it's not working, it's not working. We don't have time to do this over and over again. But then the other thing I thought was really cool, and this is really respectable, is as the host of If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything, and then also the publisher of the Practical Distillers and Alchemist Almanac. He talked about, so the band, the rule that he made for the band. I don't know if you heard him say this or not, Kevin, but I thought was really, really cool, really respectful. So as soon as the director would say, go, 30 seconds of silence. Nobody'd say anything. Nobody would do anything. As soon as they stop, 30 seconds of silence, right?
Mhm.
And even though that's not part of the film, you can feel that reverence in the film as it plays out, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's him working his way through that birth or that death and that rebirth sort of thing, and then also paying tribute to those who have come before him, hosting a concert for the dead. Really cool. And as you said, the songs are different. As a matter of fact, so there's a song on in this performance that I didn't like the original version of. I love it now because I've gone back to it and now I get
Yeah.
it. It's Collapsia. I didn't
Yeah.
like that song at all the first time I heard it, and now it might be my favorite song of theirs. So
Yeah. The first the opener is Running Joke, which is off Era
oh,
Vulgaris,
yep.
and then it kind of flows into Paper Machete, which was off of In Times New Roman, which is the last album. Did not recognize that song.
No.
It is completely different, and I thought this is incredible. That you take a song from an album that came out a year and a half, 2 years ago, and we're going to do a live version of it that you're not going to recognize.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, and it's such a for being in such a something that people would think was a somber place, right? And
Mhm.
I don't necessarily view it that way, right? But most people would view it that way. Um, the recording itself is so alive, and the way that they did it, and he's using a lapel mic basically, and so he's able to move around and interact with the
Mhm.
band in ways that you normally wouldn't see. The reverb is obviously there within the voice and the instruments, and it's a it's a little different reverb than what you're used to because it's dampened by human bones, right? There's no ignoring what's causing the sound in that recording. But I I just found it a deeply moving thing, and I think it truthfully he did that for himself because of what he was going through, and then he did it for the fans that he knew that would get it. But I think
Mhm.
there are a lot of people that aren't even fans of Queens of the Stone Age that like they would get this in a different level.
Yeah.
This is one again. It's like Sunshine. It's not made for everybody necessarily. So,
Right. But as a piece of art,
mhm.
um, if you compare that to their the studio album versions of these songs, okay, we're dealing with electric guitars, sometimes with heavy distortion. You're dealing with uh, powerful drums. The most of the vocals are just him. You flip it over to this Alive in the Catacombs. The every the drums or excuse me, the guitars acoustic, the bass is acoustic, lots of strings, a keyboard, and very very little percussion. And what
Mhm.
is there is incredibly subtle.
Yeah.
And the vocals, there's a lot of harmonies in there too.
a whole lot. Troy Troy Van Leeuwen, the guitar player and multi-instrumentalist, whatever. He does a lot of backing vocals when they play live, and he's got a few here. But then I can't remember the other guy's name. But yeah, there's several. There's definitely some Rick Wright, David Gilmour stuff going on this one when it comes to the vocals. So.
Yeah.
Which is a nice little throwback as well. And it's amazing. So,
Yeah.
Like you said, those big distorted guitars that are on the albums and that are live, they're clearly not there, but it's amazing the dissonance and distortion that is coming from those strings in certain songs and how that plays.
Yeah. And I think his voice sounds is good and rich and alive as anything that I've heard him do.
Oh, it's the crooniest Josh Homme thing
Yes.
ever, for sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it's really been a really inspirational piece for me, and like I said, he made me go back and listen to some of the old stuff that I hadn't listened to that I didn't think I necessarily enjoyed all that much, and found that I enjoyed it much more after seeing it in a different light, I guess. So it moved them. They were already pretty high up there, and I never thought that anybody would catch up with Typo Negative, but I think they did. I think they finally did it. Somebody finally understood, truly understood, other than like The Cure, etc. But somebody truly understood that memento mori thing that we miss out on so much here in the United States, and we don't really understand. We just see it as a sort of, like I said, somber, gray, right? As opposed to being like minimalist with your painting and then using that to expand your palette. Right. And greatly appreciative of that piece of music. In fact, they should just go play all the weird fucking places, Kevin. That's what they should do now. I don't care if other people think it's a gimmick. I'll buy it until the day I die. I think it's great.
Okay. So where do you think it should play then?
Oh man.
Stonehenge?
Chaco fucking Canyon, buddy. Chaco Canyon. Put them in the Kiva and Chaco Canyon. I'm 1,000,000% about it. 1,000,000%.
The Easter Island.
That's the Rocky Erickson tribute show. That's what that's going to be. Easter Island. It's going to be awesome. They're just going to cover the 13th Floor Elevators, Easter Everywhere album. It's going to be me and Billy Gibbons and 5 other dudes that buy it.
Do you have if somebody said, "Hey, I really don't know Queens of the Stone Age," what album would you direct them to, or what 2 albums would you say, listen to these and you'll get it?
Man, that's an interesting one. So I think you have to throw Rated R in there just because it's a little more lighthearted overall, right? Like that has to be in the conversation. And obviously Songs for the Deaf is kind of a big breakthrough. But if I was going to show them a piece of music, and it's not representative of everything they do, if I was going to show them a piece of music, it would be Vampire of Time and Memory. It would just be actually show them the music video for that, because that's another one of those. Yeah, no, you get what makes this whole thing called life absolutely special, that you get to feel that, and that you can come out of it too. So
well, and one of the things that there's very little spoken word in this film, and I think before they start Suture Up Your Future, he says, "If you're going through hell, keep on going.
Keep going. Yep. Yeah. Bike through it."
You bike. If you're biking through hell,
bike through it.
Keep on biking. In Times New Roman album was their last full studio album. What were your thoughts on that?
I absolutely loved it. I thought there was a lot of really cool experimentation there. I don't know. I think sometimes, so they've been like every other band. They have their ups and their downs, and for me, Lullabies is pretty down as far as I'm concerned, especially when compared to what became before and after it. But I get it. I get the headspace and all that sort of stuff. So the last album I thought had they really started to play around with some dissonance that wasn't just, it became more textural as opposed to just loud and abrasive, right? It
Yeah.
became not even, they'd already played around with that as parts of melodies and throwing in odd suspendeds and minors here and there. But now it's become a much more textural thing. Not exactly in the same way as what Trent Reznor does with Nine Inch Nails, but also not entirely different from some of the things that he's done. And I like that. I think that not always, but sometimes when I'm listening to music, I like to be like kind of smacked in the face a little bit and like, hey, you probably need to spend a little more time with this. You know, I think very much so, kind of like that Peter Murphy thing. A lot of Peter Murphy stuff is like that. You don't necessarily get it the first 3 times you hear it. So,
or you get it and then you listen a few more times, or you don't listen for a month, a year. You listen to it again. It's like, oh wait, because you're in a different place.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do. I think that they've had some real longevity already. You know, considering the struggles that he's been through. You know, often self-induced, obviously, which that's the human condition in general.
Sure.
But all things considered, I don't know, man. I that's like, I don't know. And you tell me, you're a little older than I am, Kevin, but you know, I think there's always been that thing like, nobody wants to see their rock stars get old, or like they can't envision it when they're young, right? Not in a positive way. I think he's a little different. He's the one I look at and I go, I hope that motherfucker's doing stuff when he's 80 years old.
Right.
I'm okay with it. I think it'll be better.
There are, I mean, it's set up for that now. I mean, you don't want to tour? Okay, great. Go what? Guess what? You go to Vegas and you do a residency, and you play there for 5 nights a week for 2 months, and then you kick back, count your money, and write some more songs or do whatever you want to do. But it's set up for the the stars and the music heroes to keep going.
And he's the thing with him too is that he doesn't seem to ever really truly paint himself into the corner in terms of, he's done so many things, collaborations and the Desert Sessions and them Crooked Vultures and so he's kicked the door open on other things now too. Like you wouldn't look at it weird if like he just announced some weird club show and it was just him and a Mellotron, right? You'd be like, oh, I might go to that, like nobody else is gonna pull that off, or he might be the guy that like announces, oh, I'm gonna do a weird Morrissey cover album or some shit, but you'd be like, oh, I'll probably listen to that.
Yeah, I'd listen to it. Yeah, sure, whatever.
Right.
Even if it's not any good, hey, I like his voice,
And to touch on that Memento Mori thing too, I was talking to Kim about this, and you'll have to excuse my mind sort of being split between like distillery music and spirituality, because right now it's sort of all kind of, when you're in the conceptual phase of a distillery, even though we're operating, like for me, it's kind of, I'm very scattered, especially because I'm not drinking, so talking sober is a little different. But I told her, like, this is like, it's such a Jungian sort of thing to watch this, right? Kind of watch like an egregore or like a personality type, whether that was originally created by him as a character that he's playing and stepping into on stage, but to watch that become an archetype, right? Like, this is the thing above all their other accomplishments, I think, truthfully, Kevin, like this is the thing that people will talk about in 200 years with that band. Like, this is the moment.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wonder if there are things that they'll do to expand on it. Like you say, play other odd, unique places. One thing, I was trying to remember who it was, and I quickly looked it up. He produced a country album for an artist her name's Nikki Lane, and the album's called Denim and Diamonds.
I don't guess I
And
knew that, but
you should listen to it. Even if you're not a country music
yeah,
fan, you can hear it. You can hear his influence on these country songs, and it's very cool. It's very
well,
cool.
I like it when country leans a little bit into that burlesque sort of character in particular.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Hank 3, for example, and actually his son Four and the Strange Band, that last album that they did is like you can listen to it, you can hear Queens of the Stone Age all over that thing
I have
to
not
a
heard
T.
that. I'll have to listen to it.
Oh, it's good. There's a song, I think the first single that, not that anybody really listens to singles anymore in that way, but
Right.
it's called Son of Sin. And it's
Hmm.
it's as though Hank Williams was singing for Queens of the Stone Age. It's very cool. It's very cool. I like that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, one more thing on this, and then we'll move on to other things. But before Josh Homme does another thing, we need another Them Crooked Vultures album. Okay.
We do.
John Paul Jones, he's getting up there in age. So we need to get Dave Grohl and John Paul Jones and Josh Homme back together and give us a Them Crooked Vultures album.
Yeah, I agree. I was also hoping, there for a while there was some collaboration with Trent Reznor, and was really hoping that was, I don't know. And then I hold out hope because that newest Peter Murphy album that had all the guest appearances with Justin Chancellor and Danny Carey and Trent Reznor, like, let's get those guys together too.
Yeah.
Let's throw Josh into the mix on that. And now I'm just catering music specifically to me at this point. So,
well, well, hopefully someday you'll be able to play music in the distillery. Or at least you can listen to music on the way to and from the distillery and gain your inspiration there.
And when we bottle, I'd play music because I hate bottling. So we're not listening to music when we bottle.
Okay. Okay. Speaking of bottling, tell me about the choice for this bottle.
Yeah. So when I was home distilling, I got a whole bunch of those given to me one time. So bear in mind, as a home distiller or a moonshiner back in the moonshining days, usually mason jars were the go-to because it's easy to get.
Right.
You go to the store and get them. But we actually used wine bottles a lot. We used basically people would bring us bottles and we'd clean them, we'd use them. And so I've always had those flip top bottles from various different things. You buy, cider in them or whatever. And we just like the way they look. I think, again, moonshine has this connotation of being a lowbrow, low quality alcohol. And that's not what I'm making. It's not what I ever made at home. And what I'm doing here is exactly what I did at home. It's what I learned how to do as a kid that I'm still doing today. And I wanted to make sure that, and as did Jolie and Steve and Heather, that it went into something that was representative of the art that was going into the bottle, right?
Yeah.
But also, again, doesn't take itself too seriously, but pays a little bit of tribute to those German roots as well here in the Black Forest of Southern Indiana. And I think that one hits it. They're a pain in the ass, buddy. You got to put every one of them damn bell tops on by hand. And then obviously
and then this goes over just the top of the bottle like this. But in order to open it, I mean, unless there's some other way, another way to open it, I got to take this off. I tried to salvage it on the first one that I opened, and it just looks goofy.
And they're designed like that on purpose because normally, most bottles that you're going to see in the stores are going to have a seal on them, But with that bell top, there's no great way to do that unless you do wax or something, and that's such a pain in the ass to deal with.
Don't please, you'll never get into it if you do wax on that.
I'm good. Hard pass. Yeah, I don't know if that product will stay in that bottle forever, just because it is
Yeah.
such a pain in the ass to deal with. But right now, it's cool. It's awesome,
Yeah,
and it plays into the homestead aspect because, man, you get
absolutely.
done, you empty that bottle out. You know, if you're somebody that likes to make vinegar, or make your own wine, or whatever you want to do with it, right? You got a
Yep.
reusable container that actually has some value to it, as opposed to, throwing your whiskey bottle into your recycling bin that we all know just goes to the landfill anyways. Just
um,
it's there to make you feel better.
yeah. Let's talk about the Black Forest spirits, because there are several varieties of these. This is the 9 herb charm, not to be confused with 11 herbs and spices, but the 9 herb charm. Uh, I've got a couple thoughts on this one, but talk about this in general.
Mhm. So the Black Forest spirits, that's another one of our pillars. There's Sunshine, which is always going to have a little bit of malted roasted sunflower in it, but not always
Mhm.
be the predominant flavor, right? The flavored stuff that we mentioned earlier, that's all flavored Sunshine. There's the Newton Stewart, which, even though it's a corn-based moonshine product, it's still a Sunshine, has a little bit of malted roasted sunflowers in it. And then there's these Black Forest spirits, and these Black
Mhm.
Forest spirits are made to pay tribute to the Black Forest of Southern Indiana, that 6 county region with the 150 plus legal operating distillers, making mostly apple and peach brandy in the 1800s up to Prohibition. So not only in that historic area, but also in the area of things that inspire me.
Mhm.
9 herb charm falls into that category, right? And it will have eventually a different label. It'll be differentiated from everything else we have. It may not even end up being a Black Forest spirit. It may be its own standalone thing in time. So what that is that is a true Alpine inspired liqueur. And that's something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. It's something I've played around with a lot at home, obviously very
Mhm.
closely related to botanical distillations like absinthe, but closer to, chartreuse, strega, genepi, those sorts of traditional cordial spirits or
Mhm.
liqueur spirits. So, again, right around 70 proof or so. That is a super complex distillation I'll get to momentarily, but it is inspired by a poem, really an Edda from England around the 8th or 9th century, I believe. So basically, when you have the Norse come in and you have that sort of Nordic mythology, religion, spirituality meeting up with Christianity, you get this character named Woden, who's basically Odin, but he has some Christian sort of traits to him. He's still, responsible for discovering the runes and all of that sort of stuff, and controlling the 9 realms. And so he's telling this story about these 9 herbs that cure all poisons and venoms. And
Mhm.
it's obviously allegorical, but he names the 9 different herbs from the 9 different realms. And so we took that as inspiration and took those 9 herbs, or at least the ones that were on the FDA grass list, because that's a thing you got to do when you're doing this
Right.
legally. And then the ones that weren't on the grass list, we found the closest relatives with the closest flavor profile we could that were on the
Mhm.
grass list. We made so I don't know, anyways, but we made what's called chip malted corn and chip malted rye, and this is where you just start the malting process and then you arrest it, but allow it to grow a little bacteria.
Mhm.
We then applewood smoke that. That's the fermentation base alongside sugar. We
Okay.
added part of the botanicals to that fermentation during the actual fermentation, which is a very, very old school British Isles way of doing things. We then ran that through the pot double thumper system. Some more botanicals then went into the thumper. We, we collected that distillate. We macerated some various things in that distillate for coloration.
Mhm.
And then we made an herbal tea and added sugar to it and added that back for proofing. So it's a really involved process, which is cool though, because it's very much inspired by that Alpine history. But
Mhm.
that's a uniquely American method when it comes to the pot and double thumper
Mhm.
system of doing this. And it surprised me 2 years ago. You would have never sold a bottle of that to anybody, right? Just the dorkiest of the dorks. And the market has changed so much. We are selling more of that than we are of anything else that we have. And
Yeah.
you can't plan that, especially not for a lake crowd, right?
Right.
Like if you told me that's what they're going to buy, like I'd have told you were insane. but they're buying it and they're loving it, and it's
Right.
guys and girls both, and
Yeah.
and some of them are
It,
drinking it neat, some on ice, some are mixing
it
it
ain't
like
it
so.
ain't Milk Ultra. It ain't Milk Ultra.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. And the crazy thing is, so botanical stuff normally, people are, oh, I don't like gin, because that's where their brain automatically goes, and they don't go there on this, which is awesome. But
Hmm.
what's also crazy is I have yet to have anybody guess what that main flavor is, and I have my suspicions about why people love this spirit.
Hmm.
Um, and I'll just tell you, and you already know, Kevin, but the main flavor component in that is horehound.
Hmm.
And so everybody grew up with some form of horehound candy or cough drop or something. And it's a
Yeah.
very familiar, very comforting, very homestead remedy. So
Hmm.
it works. It works well.
Yeah. It to me, it drinks like if a gin and an absinthe
Hmm.
had a baby,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that I think that horehound is what pulls those absinthe notes that you usually get, or the notes you usually get out of absinthe. But
This is
yeah, it's delicious.
one of the reasons why I came to Old Homestead. One of the reasons why I'm so excited about it is to be able to do these things. These are the things that I'm truly passionate about. Now, whether they had a market or not, I didn't know, and we still don't really know, not truthfully, but it kind of seems like that's the case, and it seems like that's where people are headed, is drinking more experientially, and I'm all about that. I love making that kind of stuff. It's a challenge. It's a huge pain in the ass, but
Hmm.
it's so much more hands on than anything else that you're gonna do. And so the cool thing, so Sunshine is obviously a new style spirit, right?
Right.
We will have the world's first absinthe made with real sunshine, by the way. I just want to make sure everyone knows that. That's very important. But with authentic sunshine, as it were. But I don't know. I think that stuff like this again is kind of where a lot of people are headed, and they're interested in these unique experiential sort of character driven things that you got to kind of think about when you're drinking them, right?
Right.
But like one of the coolest things I heard, there's a couple of ladies that came in, and they've been in a couple times now and bought the 9 herb charm. And what they're doing with it is they're taking it home, they're making herbal tea, and then they're adding a shot of that to the herbal tea.
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
all
Why
about
not?
it. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. I think it's great. I think
Yeah.
it's great.
Uh, no, I think this isn't um, this isn't what you would normally get with the Bourbon Bro crowd.
No. And it's
Um,
something that never, that's what I was driving at. Sorry. It's something that's never existed before. It was created
yeah.
from whole cloth, right?
Right.
Out of
Right.
nothingness. So it was literally, I saw the 9 herb charm poem when I was doing research for last year's almanac, or maybe the year before. I was like, you know what? File that away, because that's there's the inspiration for something right there. And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah. Well, you should include that on the website.
Yes, yes, that's a good idea. That's a great
Yeah.
idea. I don't know if it's happened yet, but if it hasn't, I'll do it myself at some point. But I have this idea in my head, like I just want to print off that poem and laminate it and leave it around the distillery, different places. So
Mm-hmm.
that way, when guests come in, when customers come in, they find it. They go, "Oh, okay, now I get it. I get what this is." So
Yeah. That's very cool. Now, you the other day you had posted on Facebook that you are going back to the I guess one of the first mash bills you ever did as a
mhm.
distiller, as a 15-year-old out in the woods, but also it's the mash bill for the bourbon that really got me interested in craft spirits, and that would be the mash bill that most recently we would know as Lee W. Sinclair.
Mhm. Yep. Or that $8,000 mic drop bullshit.
Well, look, we could go there if you want to, but I'm more interested
No.
in what you're doing with it now.
Yeah. So, I guess the intro to that for me would be, so we very specifically are going out of our way. This is one of the conversations that Jolie and I had early on, and my dad and I had very early on, and Steve and Heather. Although I think it took them a little while to realize what I was driving at, because they didn't see, they couldn't yet see the cracks in the market in the bourbon world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been predicting that for a while now. So our we're not going to focus a whole lot on bourbon at all. Like, it won't ever really be a focus for us at Old Homestead. There will be
Right.
bourbon, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be the driving factor. Now, we're much more focused on rye whiskey, because I think there's a lot of room in the market for rye, and I think there's a lot of variation in rye that people haven't touched yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's room there for that to grow and do cool things. In fact, I think that there's even room for liqueurs and cordials that are based on rye. Rye has so much levity and so much backbone and character when it comes to that sort of stuff, and contrast you
Mm-hmm.
can play off of, but also American whiskey, because it's a very overlooked category, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think of all the positives that bourbon has, and then add more levity to it, and that's what American whiskey is, right?
Yeah.
It's a vehicle for creativity.
Yeah. When you
And,
say levity,
mhm.
kind of expand on what you mean by that in this context.
Yeah, so obviously proof ceiling's different, barrels are different. There are exceptions to things such as, and I'm not afraid to go into this either. So rectification has gotten a very bad name in the
Mm-hmm.
past 10 or 15 years. And rectification, while there were bad rectifiers in the 1800s, the vast majority of them were artisans, just like any distiller was. Rectification is a form of distillation. It's what it is, right? It's to rectify or to fix something. So certain categories have this caveat in the TTB, where you can have up to 2.5% harmless flavoring or coloring, and that can be by volume or by weight, which is a substantial
Mm-hmm.
amount. Now, people are automatically going to go, oh, he'd throw all kinds of weird shit in there after he distills it. No, that's not what we're doing. But even if we did, I'd tell you exactly what it was, because that's how I am. So take these different variations I can do. You talked about them earlier, switching out different equipment, things of that nature. So
Mm-hmm.
every mash bill that we have, even though it might look like a bourbon mash bill being more than 51% corn, uh, with the exception of the rye whiskeys, etc., uh, we have anywhere between 5 and 6 different yeast strains. We use a different one every single day, because we're throwing everything off profile. There is no profile for these whiskeys, because there's not supposed to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll get, the profile is the blended product at the end, right? You don't create consistency on a pot still anyway. So give me all the different colors to paint with, to make the blend with, and I'll give you a much more interesting and textural picture at the very end of the
Right.
process. So part of the process with these American whiskeys, not only the yeast strain, but then we can go either stainless steel fermenter, or we can go wooden fermenter. And then we can go either double pot still, or we can go single pot hybrid with the column and go low, 120 or so, or we
Mm-hmm.
can go pot double thumper, right? All three have different profiles, same mash bill, different yeast, different distillation process. That all gets marked on the barrel. We keep track of all that stuff. But then most of the time we may run that stuff through without doing anything to it. And there will be barrels that have nothing done to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there will be barrels that we might throw, say, apples into the gin basket, or we might throw raisins into the gin basket, or we might decide we want to throw jasmine flowers into the gin basket, right? Very small amounts of these things, obviously, based on the rules. But it's just another variation. And now I've got a warehouse full of all these labeled barrels of the same mash bill made different ways. And then I can go in and pick and select how I want to blend those for some bulk product. Or more importantly, you want a single barrel. Now imagine all the variation you have. You're not just going
Right.
into some giant corporate warehouse and, well, the one on the fourth story is different than the one on the 15th story. It's no, those two are next to each other. They were made one day apart, and they couldn't be more different, and it's done on purpose. So
Right.
it's just another way of telling stories. And we do the same thing with the sunshine. So one of the things that we did there, I'll mention this real quick because it's interesting. So we did a product called Rise and Shine, and it's one of those barrel rested ones, and it is
Mm-hmm.
malted rye and sugar and raisins. Raisins always go into the sunshine. That's something I've always done at home, and I'll always do as a professional distiller with the moonshine style products.
Mm-hmm.
But we did 3 variations, and they're all 3 different flavor profiles. So all double, or all pot still double thumper One was with jasmine and chamomile. One was
Okay.
with a bunch of citrus, like all kinds of citrus in that one. And then the third one is maybe the most Hoosier thing I've ever done, and it was toasted hickory bark and hickory syrup in the thumper, and it is delicious. So
Yeah.
those are the things that we're really focused on, and I think that those are again, they're experiential, right? They're also
Yeah.
fun. They're
Yeah.
fun. They're interesting and textural. So with the bourbon will be a rarity. We will like this bourbon I'm running right now. There's going to be two variations of it. One was, most recently the Lee Sinclair mash bill, but again, the mash bill I created when I was 15 years old. And the other
Hmm.
one is the alternative version of Lee Sinclair, which has rye in place of the wheat.
Hmm.
Um, so now we did switch out, the specialty malts and all that sort of stuff. And the version with the rye is actually rye malt and oat malt,
Oh, okay.
um, as well as crystal malt. So profile is going to be way different than it was at either of the other
Yeah.
two distilleries, just like they were different from one another, right? It's just the mash bill. You're just switching out variables.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we'll lay down maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll put down 10 barrels of each of those, and probably won't do it again for 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
maybe longer. And when it comes out, it'll be single barrel, tasting room only. And hey, it is what it is. When it's gone, it's gone. Sorry about your luck.
Yeah.
So
No, that'll be fun because you can try it side by side with things that you've had before,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
that'll be fun. That'll be fun.
I think.
Um, yeah. Um, well, I'm really happy for you, and what all you got going on. It's interesting to watch you work. Both uh, on the farm or at the distillery, and just see the creative things that you got going on. And
Thanks.
it, it is it's spirits for the people that are can um, adopt creativity into their uh, drinking experience.
Mm,
And drinking experience sounds a little too common for it, but um, if you're willing to expand uh, your your palate and broaden your horizons, I think you've got lots of different things uh, for people that are of that mindset.
yeah. Or if you just want to come get plastered at the lake, that's okay too.
Well, yeah, I guess so.
We got a hotel
Um,
and everything, man. It's okay. You don't gotta go nowhere. You can stay right
you
there.
just stay in the hotel.
Yep. It'll all be all right.
Yeah. No, it's fun stuff. It really is. And you can see that some of it is does kind of have a lighter side to it, and like the cherry bomb, and some of it is a little more feels a little more serious and intentional, like the nine herb charm. So there's a little something for everybody.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even Larry Bird.
Well, maybe not. I think I don't know that he'd get through the door, would he?
Valid point. Valid point. He'd have to come with the Cougs.
Well, you bring all the prominent Indianans, all the prominent Hoosiers in there, and that he'd show up. Jeez. All right. Well, Alan, I've kept you a while, and I appreciate your time, and thanks for sharing the things that you got going on, and us talking about Queens of the Stone Age and your career as a cyclist. Um, and just all the good stuff you got going on. I'm really proud of you and happy for you. I know this has been a long time coming, and I'm glad that it is in fruition and growing more by the day.
Yep. Yep. We're getting there. Slowly but
Yeah.
surely, we're getting there. So
All right. All right. Well, thanks a lot, man, my friend. Love you.
love you, man.
Well, that was a lot of fun talking with Alan. It's always great to catch up with him, whether it's on a show or whether it's just you know chatting it up somewhere. Alan, you can find him on social media. Look for him on Instagram at the Alchemist Cabinet. You can also look up Old Homestead Distilling Company. It's Old Homestead DC on Instagram. Also, go ahead and hit up Jolie Kasperzak. Remind her that it was only 3 short months until Alan Bishop Day 2025. So she would appreciate that. She would also appreciate, whether she would admit it now or not, because now she's probably ticked off at me because I mentioned Alan Bishop Day. But subscribe to us on YouTube. Listen to us on your favorite podcast platforms like Apple, Spotify, and Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where we'll post what we're drinking, what we're listening to while we're drinking it, news, events, etc., so on and so on. Check that out. Be a part of that. Would love to have you hanging out with us. So we also got some great shows coming up soon. Eric Wolf will be joining us soon. Dusty Bow will be joining us soon. Also, Jason Johantis of All Things Blues and Southern Rock podcast will be on with me, where we will do our track-by-track review of the Cold Stare's new album, The Southern Part 2. That's always fun. Jason's a great time. You need to check out his show and just be sure to watch what we're doing together here. All right, that's it. Until next time, thank you all very, very much for tuning in. Have a great day.